I don't know what I was thinking back then when I decided I was gonna get that loan, man.
Now, this TikToker, I looked briefly on his profile. He has served some time in prison, and that's all I think that's necessary to say about that. So he's obviously aware that this could send him back to prison. And these are relatively recent, by the way.
And I got served, man. And it's not worth it for everybody out there who getting it. It's not worth it because now I gotta deal with the aftermath of it. And I got 4 daughters. It's just a lot to deal with.
Oftentimes, we will say that we look after the incident, or in this case, after the crime has been committed. And you start to realize that all that fast money you were chasing just wasn't worth it. And it really doesn't matter if it's money, if it's an item, an object, it makes no difference. Whatever it was that led you to break the law, you begin to realize, for most of us with a certain level of consciousness and awareness, okay, you begin to realize it's definitely not worth it. Also, a lot of people are running around saying that there is a warrant list. And that's because if you go into PPP borrowers search, you can go right onto Google and find it. In fact, I did a short on it earlier today. You can type in the business name or the individual person's name and see if they pop up. Let's make very clear that this is not a warrant list. Okay, so if you were a victim of identity theft, or you legitimately took out business PPP, borrower money, and you legitimately had the business and you wrote down everything true to the facts of the business and it could be proven, don't worry. This is not an arrest warrant list. I mean, let's think about it. You really think the federal government's going to put out, and we are looking for these particular people for a warrant arrest now? Okay, they don't want people to run. They'll just come get you. So let's keep in mind the list that they will often refer to in this is, they'll say it's an arrest list, a warrant list. No, it's not. However, excuse me, if you are on the list and you cannot prove that you legitimately had a business, or if you had a business, you overinflated it, you had 2 employees and you said you had 20, your company instead was worth 10,000 because you're a little startup, but you said it was worth 10 million, you're going to have some legal issues. And like I said, stick around, and there is a TikToker who will tell you how long they can actually go after. I was a bit surprised, but also not surprised.
It's not worth it, man. Don't put yourself in that situation. And I know y'all been like, damn, he been down the past few days. He ain't really been responding. They got me, man.
People, I think what happened is that you have to remember this money was given out 4 years ago. 4 years ago, some people weren't even parents. All right. So you're thinking about where their lives are 4 years ago. Think about where you were 4 years ago. So a lot happens in 4 years. And so I'm sure for many of these people, I mean, I don't like to say they thought they got away with it, but for all intents and purposes, I mean, you take money and you don't hear of anything. You're 1, 2, 3, 4. You go on living your best life. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, yeah, that incident. Remember also, this deals with the federal government. The federal government. Never mess around with don't mess around with governments, period. Federal, state, but especially federal. Because when it comes to federal sentencing, if the feds write you, they've already got everything they need. They don't need to wait for you to decide to, if you're going to plead guilty or not. They've already got enough to get you on. This is why so many federal criminal charges stick. They've already got you.
Guess I'll keep y'all updated on everything.
I just got off the phone with the lawyer. He's telling me the best options that I have are to turn myself in. Like, what did I do to deserve this?
Okay, let's back up to this guy right here. What did he do to deserve this? Well, you didn't deserve anything, but it's a result, it's the consequences of the choices that were made. It's not about deserving. I hope that makes sense. I mean, some therapy people go, well, yeah, you deserve all of this. Okay, in essence, I could say, yes, you deserve it. But but that's looking at yourself as a victim. That's looking at yourself as though you are helpless to control your own destiny. You are helpless to keep yourself out of jail. You are helpless to keep yourself employed. That's, so when someone says, what did I do to deserve this? Without taking the entire situation in full, meaning finding out what was your role, what was your part. Now, where I could say that someone definitely didn't deserve it, okay, you get up, you follow the traffic laws and somebody sideswipes you on the road, yet you did nothing wrong. Okay, then I could, see, what I do to deserve that, okay? I understand that. And, oftentimes the phrase is not, it's taken more rhetorically, not so much to be answered. And I understand that that's this young man's position, when he says, what did I do to deserve it? But in this case, what did he do? If you really want to get technical, you made a choice. That choice had a consequence. And that consequence just happens to be possibly federal prison. Remember, this is federal money. So don't just kick your head back and say, what did I do to deserve it? Because that relieves you, the person who chose the action, of all responsibility. But even more importantly, like I said, it means you are a helpless victim. You are playing helpless when you're not helpless, and you never were helpless.
What did I do to deserve this?
Today, and if you could just
Okay, this lady here, this was just, I think, a few weeks back, okay? She is all over social media. But let's make this really clear, okay? A couple of things. One reason why you might want to keep yourself steered clear of unlawful behavior. Once something is on social media, it never goes away. In her case, she's gone viral on social media. But let's keep in mind, folks, it really doesn't matter whether you go viral or not. If I commit a federal crime, it doesn't matter if one media outlet picks me up or 50 media outlets pick me up. Once you type in my name, no, don't go typing in my name. I've committed no federal crime, okay? But once you go typing in my name, it's going to pull it up, whether my story went viral or not. In this case, this woman's case went viral. I cut it way down because a lot of it was her sitting outside, talking, crying. And then it was a long walk to the police car, and I wanted to speed up the video a little bit. But she is all over, so it's not hard to find her if you want to watch the whole thing. But trust me, I pretty much edited out this part, so it was brought down a little bit. So basically, the part that you miss, that I edited out, is they're standing at her door and they want her to come out. And at first she's kind of refusing, and then she goes ahead and she steps out. I believe she has children inside, or a dog or something she says she has also inside, but she does come out, and this is the scene of her coming out. And like I said, this is just a few weeks back.
put UTO in for me so that I can at least, get paid and whatnot. But I have to step away now.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. Can I just say bye to my kids?
Yeah, I mean, we don't really want you to go back in. So.
And remember, guys, by the time the feds show up on your door, okay, even if it's local police arresting you for a federal charge, I don't really know how that labyrinth works, and that's not something I wish to experience. But when they pick you up under federal charges, the goods have already been discovered, all right? They have everything they need. And remember, 4 years have passed, so she has children. So let's say at the time the child was 4, that kid's 8 years old now. life changes, it moves on, almost to the point that you forget that you even committed the crime. And I'm willing to bet, even more so, they probably don't even own anything that they took the PPP money for, because so oftentimes it's used for just immediate quick fixes. These aren't people who are taking PPP money and going, oh, let me see, can I get myself an education before I get caught by the feds, because I'm going to need all the education I need when I get out of jail. Which leads to another point, which is the rest can be the easy part. It's getting out of jail and rebuilding your life. That can seem next to impossible because you now have criminal charges on your record. These are things to think about, people. And it immediately disqualifies you from pretty much anything. Well, I cannot say pretty much. It will disqualify you from anything that has security background check. Anything. Whether you want to be a teacher, whether you want to go into certain parts of banking, whether you want to go into security, protection, federal government jobs. And I believe, if I'm correct, don't quote me, but if I'm correct on researching this lady, researching means I looked on TikTok. Hey, I keep it real with you guys, okay? I keep it real. But I believe, okay, don't quote me on this, I believe, though, she's a federal employee. Now, why does that make a difference? That's basically like your own boss coming to pick you up because you stole from them. I believe she's a federal employee. She will never get a federal job again, probably ever.
Oh, that's the only thing.
God, I don't want them to, I don't want that type of anxiety to sit with
If
them.
you want us to like step out and one of us stay with you and the kids can come out and you just
Yeah.
tell them that you gotta come and talk to us at the station or something like that.
Yeah.
That way you don't have all four of us standing around when they come out and they can go through.
Wait.
The fact that the police are trying to grant her some of her wishes, please don't have 4 police standing around, I'd like to say goodbye to my kids. This is more than what they are required to do. They technically can just pick her up underneath each armpit and take her to the car. But they also understand that, being arrested, I'm sure having a person who starts to act out, perhaps get unexpectedly violent, why elevate the situation if you don't have to? So I actually have to commend the officers here in, they're willing to hear her out.
I'm good.
You good with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
And here she is now getting into the car. Like I said, she's all over the internet if you want to watch the entire thing. I thought it was a little long, but here she is getting into the car. I changed the music for copyright purposes. It says here for property under 20,000. Now, I don't know if you heard about the real estate. She's some realtor. Oh, I don't remember where. Some high level, realtor who scammed them over $1 million, bought herself a Bentley and a bunch of handbags and stuff. And when people think of arrests, with the PPP loans, they're thinking that's what the federal government is chasing after. Well, here's my observation. That's who the federal government first started chasing. Remember, they've been chasing now for a few years. They went for the big fish right away. And now they're working their down to the smaller fish, because a whole bunch of smaller fish adds up. And we're talking, family, billions of dollars and billions of dollars in fraud, not millions of dollars. And keep in mind, when people took these PPP loans fraudulently, businesses that were supposed to get it to save their business, to save their employees, because it's a domino effect. The business can't be saved, so now they can't pay the employees, and the employees don't have any means of income. Well, the fraudsters, all right, got to a lot of the money first. Why? Because they did it fraudulently. Everything from stealing people's identity theft. Okay, somebody taking on somebody else's identity. I mean, it's a mess, and part of it is the federal government's fault in the sense that there was no real check and balance put in place. Remember, COVID hit everybody unexpectedly. Everybody. 1 minute I was teaching, in a classroom. The next minute I'm online learning how to use Canvas and Zoom to teach kids. So it hit everybody. And people can say, well, this is the government's fault. And I've read a lot of comments about that. Yes, it is. But ultimately, as far as putting in the application with name, address, phone number, or what is your business, literally, what's your business? How much does it make? How long have you been in business? Those choices to be dishonest about it, that's on the person who applied for the PPP application. No matter how inefficient the government is, always remember, you as the individual have a choice. You have a choice. It's not what did I do to deserve this. So here she has 20,000 is what she got for fraud, and they're hitting people. I have seen it as low as 10. It's almost like they have found the big fish. Now they're going to go for the little fish.
The PPP warrant list is real.
Again, it's not a warrant list. It's the list of the people who borrowed money. And even though you may not have borrowed money, you may want to check to see if you're on the list. And here's why. Because people are doing identity theft. Yes, people are stealing other people's identity, including family members. They're stealing other people's identity, social security number, and applying for loans. This is why you will want to check. Again, it's just PPP borrowers search. Just right on Google. Just look it up. And it'll take you to the government website. Super easy. Just type in name and or business. I already looked. I'm not on there. Again, it's not an arrest warrant list.
They have a real page with my name on it for $37,000.
So this means that she claimed to have a business, but she didn't really have it, or she had one and it didn't make the money that she claimed that it did.
Not only $37,000, but also because I used my child's father's name to open up a bank account to get $18,000.
Oh, I forgot about that part. Okay, so she used her child. Oh, jeez, I forgot about that part. Identity theft. So now you got identity theft on top of PPP fraud. Sometimes we just dig ourselves into a deeper hole. You know? This is one of those, there is no easy way out of this except just to pay the punishment. There's nothing your parents can do, your friends can do, nothing. And like I've said, the problem isn't necessarily, I mean, obviously it's all a problem, but jail's the easy part. It's coming out of jail and rebuilding your life. That's the hard part. And the other hard part, let's face it, again, because these videos are all recent, all right? It's knowing that you really can't move forward. And wait till you find out. Like I said, you know, coming up here shortly, a guy will tell you, who works with the PPP department, okay, he will actually tell you how many years they can chase you down for. In other words, the statute of limitation. And it's, you know, I'll give you a hint. It's not in the single digit. There's something about you can't move your life forward when you know you have charges hanging over your head. And they're going to peel through this list piece by piece. They're auditing it. That's the word. They're auditing it. This is a formal audit. We are going to look at every single person on this list.
I really thought it was a joke when I see it on the TikTok.
She's talking about she thought it was a joke when they were like saying there's a list with everybody's name on it. Oh, and in the early stages, the list was kept private. That's why this is all coming out now. In the early stages of the pandemic, for the first couple of years, the list was not made public. And the reason it's all the boo rah rah now on social media is because the list, of course, has now been made public. Do you feel sorry for these people? You know, put in the comments if you feel sorry for them or not. You know, I think for the most part, I don't think we feel sorry for them, but I think we can look on the things that we've done. And it's always been my thought that everybody has broken the law at least once. It's just some people got caught and some people did not. And I pretty much believe that. I believe everyone has broken the law at some point. You just didn't get caught.
There's so many people on there that I know that is on that list, bro.
Now, if there are a lot of people on there that you know that might say that the crowd you're running around with perhaps is not the best crowd for you. Not if you're trying to elevate your social standing, to elevate your financial standing. And speaking of finances, think of the incredible domino effect financially this has. So she used her father's, her child's father's, her child's father's identity. So I guess probably a child out of wedlock, okay? But that's not the point of this, all right? So they have a child. Think of the money that was stolen through PPP. Now think of the money that's going to be lost to her being unemployed, okay? The defense of the court cases that she's going to have to go in front of. Now she's got to spend money on that. I mean, you start to look at what you're taking and the repercussions of it. It's not worth it. This is why, with white collar crimes, they're going for millions, and I mean millions and millions and millions. Then they head off to the Bahamas. They ain't doing it for no 20, 30,000. It's almost like the poor folk do it for the 10, 20, 30,000. I'm just saying. But if you think about the domino effect of this money, I mean, how much is this going to cost her now in not just the job she's going to lose, but the jobs that she can no longer get, the earnings you can no longer get because you have a criminal record. It's thinking about the whole picture. I mean, in a perfect world, I guess we wouldn't have to think about any of it, because in a perfect world, we just wouldn't do it. But we are imperfect people, and this is an imperfect world. So if you're going to do that sort of action, I would just ask you to think about it first. Think about the domino financial effect.
Meanwhile, I just had a baby.
Oh.
I just had a baby, bro.
Because 4 years ago when she did this, she didn't have a child. And she thought the world had moved forward. All right, this one here, I got to be honest, I like the Sesame Street bonnet. Right, I sleep in a hair bonnet too. Okay, a lot of people with ethnic hair sleep in bonnets. It helps keep our hair from drying out at night. So yeah, that's kind of up my alley. I would sleep in a Sesame Street bonnet. I think she actually makes these, by the way, because again, I went on her page. I think she custom makes these with fabric. So she had a business, but again, apparently all was not on the up and up.
Yeah, I don't want nobody to tell my story for me. So I'm gonna tell it for myself. 4 years ago, well, back in 2020, I made a video on TikTok. Here's the video. As someone who received the PPP loan, I thought that video was funny. And
What she's saying is, as someone who received it fraudulently.
I literally never thought that anybody would get in trouble from it. And to know that people are finding out that their name is on the list.
Again, the list is the PPP borrowers list.
It's absolutely devastating.
I can feel her pain, and maybe some of you out there can too. Not because what she did was right. Okay, that's not what we're feeling. But we're feeling is the consequence of an action that we took, that we know that was so wrong, it feels insurmountable that we can never recover. Like I said, I'm not here to bash anybody. That's not the point of this. But I feel her pain. She made a grave mistake. Some mistakes are very, very grave, with very long-term consequences. And she's realizing this. Should she have known it beforehand? Sure. But that's like crying over spilled milk. It's irrelevant at this point.
I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to go to jail.
But the odds are very likely she will go to jail, especially if you don't have the money to have a lawyer to keep you out. And I'm not saying that, we can judge by appearance or anything. All right. But most of them, if you're taking 10, 20, 30,000, I'm just kind of suspecting that, just like me, I'd be a small player too.
What is going on, everyone?
All right, this is the last one, and this guy will tell you how long they have to basically come after you.
Federal underwriter here for the SBA. I worked on PPP and EIDL loans. And yes, there was so much fraud that it was unbelievable. And yes, there's a fraud prevention system in place. And yes, for those people that have lied on their application, at some point, because of the 10-year period that you're signed to, they will come after you. The 10-year period is actually the time frame that they're allowed to change.
Okay.
I don't know what I was.
So what they have, as you just heard him say, is they have 10 years to come after you. I'll be really honest. If it had been me that had done it, okay, and I knew that I had done it, and I knew that they were going to come after me, I'm the type I would rather just turn myself in now. And I'll tell you why. It is better to get your punishment out of the way now while you're younger than it is to wait till you're even older. Because again, they have 10 years. Than to wait till you're even older and try to fix it. It's kind of like you can't enjoy your days. You can't enjoy birthdays, holidays, summers. You can't enjoy any of that knowing that this is over your head. Look, I'm no attorney, and I'm certainly not telling you what to do if by chance you happen to have done it. Okay, and you shouldn't have done it. You took the money. I just know if it were me, I'm the type, I'm going to plead guilty. I'm not even going to make you go find me. If you can afford an attorney to represent you, get one. And pray that because you turn yourself in, they might be a little bit more lenient. Pray that, do you have the money to pay it back in part or in full, which from what I can tell is not going to get you off the hook of prison. Basically, they're coming after people because it's kind of like to teach you a lesson, to teach public society a lesson, so to speak. I'm just the type that I would turn myself in because I can't enjoy a birthday, a Christmas, or anything else until I know what my sentence is, when it's going to be, how long I have to serve, the whole nine thing. I'm the type, let's see, we're 4 years into it. They still have another 6. Well, I think it depends upon when you sign. They have 10 years from the time, from what I understand from this guy. They have 10 years from the time you took it. So some people might have taken it 2020. Some people might have taken it 2021. Just all in that time period. If you did happen to take it, do you really want to wait another 5 years for them to come get you? Because remember, folks, it's not a matter of if. They're going to find you. And bank records, easy. This is probably some of the easiest cases to crack. Just follow the money. It's all by bank and paper trail, all of it. And if you were a victim of identity theft, piece of cake. The money was never in your hands. No phone calls to ever you showed that you did anything. I've been a victim of identity theft through credit cards. I won't say how much or the company. Okay, but it was, and I had to go to the police, make a report, a whole 9 yards. It was a piece of cake because there was nothing on me that they could get. It was really obvious. And they checked my accounts, nothing. So I got off scot-free, yada, yada. But check and see if your name is on there. And I'm just the type that I would want it done. I'm like, just take me, I did wrong. Let me just serve my sentence and I can get ahead. Because let's say you do have to go to jail. Let's say, and some of them are going to jail for up to 30 years. That one guy in, I I was going to put it on here, but I was afraid it would make the video too long. There's one guy in Miami, 30 years for a few million that he took. But most of these people, you know, in the 10, 20, 30 range, okay, I don't think you're looking at 30 years. Again, I'm no attorney, and I don't know what your criminal history is. I don't know if it's 3 strikes you're outlaw. I don't know. But what I do know is I can't live my life. I could not live my life knowing that this was hanging over my head. And to me, it would just be better for me just to admit it and say, you know what, I saw my name on the list. I confess, I absolutely did wrong. And nothing I can do can change that. And I would like to just go ahead and get this settled now. And you'll be that much further ahead down the road. And then, of course, as I've said earlier, the hard part comes in rebuilding your life. PPP fraud, take 2.
How to report PPP loan fraud. There's one way where you could just do it directly to the authorities, but when you do, there's no potential upside other than doing the right thing.
Well, we can't have that. I mean, if I'm going to do something, at least give me some cash for it.
If you want a percentage of the recovery and potentially a whistleblower award, PPP loan fraud whistleblower reward, you need to do it using the False Claims Act, which requires the use of a whistleblower law firm to file. Plenty of firms handle it.
The only problem is you need to figure out how to afford the firm. Now, if I'm going to go on the side of the PPP fraudsters, here's what I do. I'd call it, let's make a deal. Okay, so like I know you took a cool meal. I mean, heck, I won't even go for $1 million. Let's just say you took, I don't know, a couple $100,000, you see, and then you give me some of the fraud money that you got illegally, right? So then I don't turn you in. Oh, this video is going to be so demonetized. This was a joke, folks. It's a joke.
LLC handles it if it's over a couple million in controversy.
A couple million in controversy, isn't that more like a couple million in fraud, international wire theft, and everything else you can think of? I mean, controversy is when your parents ask you to do something and you don't do it and they have to ask you 4 times. I do not call it controversy when you're a few million in, I don't know, PPP fraud theft.
Listen up, I ain't no PPP expert, but let me tell you something. I was in the government and I dealt with the government for 24 years as a soldier. I can promise you, any piece of paper, anything you filled out, any transaction you made, any money you received, any money you sent, the government has a transaction record of what happened.
And so does Bank of America while you're at it.
So, I'm hearing about a lot of people having to turn in their employee records to show who they paid. If you ain't got them records, y'all, look, make a deal with them folks. Get you an attorney. Make a deal.
Get you an attorney with the PPP money you stole fraudulently that you probably don't even have anymore because you spent it on a Hermes handbag or some fancy car.
Them folks try to pay the money back and leave it alone. Because fighting it and saying you didn't do it, they already know that you did whatever you weren't supposed to do.
Everyone knows, and you don't even have to be a gangster to know this. If the feds come after you, they've already got you. Okay, this isn't your local police department that's trying to get you on a little ticket that may or may not be dismissed, in court. This is the federal government. This is the IRS. This is the FBI. If they come in after you, all right, and they've already got you in their net, the proof is already, they have all the proof that they need. And something to think about, and I don't think I addressed it in this video, and that was talking about loan forgiveness. All right. Oh, speaking of loan forgiveness, you're going to want to stick around because at somewhere, I think it's towards the end of this video, there's a law firm that talks about loan forgiveness. I'm not going to give it away, but they talk about loan forgiveness and bankruptcy and fraud. Oh, yes, it's quite the cup of tea. But basically, long story short, what should you do if you took out a PPP loan fraudulently? You can't pay it back, and now you need to file bankruptcy. That's coming up later in this video, so stick around for that. But one thing I can tell you that my little non-legal mind, okay, does understand. A lot of people are thinking if the loan is forgiven, that all is good, well, and they can wash their hands of it. But you have to remember, everything at some point runs through the IRS. And they've extended the so-called net time where they can capture the PPP fraud. I think it used to actually just be a few years. Well, they extend it to 10 years. 10 years, family. They can come chasing after you. You can, you can have found religion, started anew, got your church going, one hand on the Bible, whatever type of Bible you worship, if you even do, okay, whatever. PPP knows no, race or religion, right? 10 years they can come after you. And don't think it's just showing up at the door. You best check those mailboxes, because they're writing a lot of people too. Then they show up at the door because you didn't check your mail or your email or your text message. Oh, it's a difficult game to win, family. Don't play it. Don't play it. But really, him saying sell it and move on. Yeah. And I said that too in the first video. I do not want somebody coming after me 10 years later. Maybe, remarry. You got your kids. The dog is, 10 years older, and you're still waiting for the federal government, and they're going to show up to come knocking on your door and destroy your life. It is easier to destroy your life when you're younger and to rebuild than it is to wait until you are older. It's just a thought.
I'm giving you sound advice because it don't matter at this point. When you're dealing with the feds or state and those records at the bank, I'm telling you, not only at the bank, but records showing that you didn't have an employer identification number.
And if you did have an employer identification number, you falsified, you inflated the records.
You don't have the record showing that you sent money to pay ex-employee. It's all.
And a lot of people, as turning out, are paying family members too. They're paying anybody to make them look like an employee.
In the system, y'all. So my point to you is, make a deal with them folks. Do not side with the people who giving you all this stuff. You ain't gotta turn it back. You ain't gotta do that. No. I ain't telling you be snitch, but listen.
Be a snitch.
Yeah, I am. Throw them people under the bus if you have to, and go on and do your paperwork. Because they going to get the person that did it unjustly. They going to get the person that got the money unjustly. And it's going to be a mess. Because at the end of the day, they're going to throw you under the bus. So my point is, do what you're supposed to do and need to do now at this point, because it ain't going to be pretty for you if you don't do it. So that's just my advice to you, because the records are there. And this is coming back around full circle. Hey, and it is what it is. Have a great day.
Did you believe you were receiving these loans legitimately?
Of course they knew they weren't receiving the loans legitimately. These are the deputies. These are the people who are supposed to arrest you when you've done bad.
17 members of the Broward Sheriff's Office, which include both BSO deputies and detention deputies, released from the federal courthouse in Fort Lauderdale after being indicted on charges that include wire fraud after federal investigators said they fraudulently applied for and received funds from the Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP loans.
Update.
You sit there and you have to wonder, the people that are supposed to protect and serve society are really helping themselves first in society. And of course it's in Florida where I live, because I'm here in Tampa.
On the PPP warrant. So I didn't think that it was real at first, because it's been about 3 years since I did mine. And
he's saying it's been 3 years since he took out a PP loan fraudulently.
Man, I'm gonna take my lick, because at the end of the day, I knew what I was doing when I did it. I knew that it was a possibility that, everything could go sideways. I see a lot of comments, people got negative say, they want to say, oh, you committed fraud, you knew what you was doing whenever you did it. And I get that, I get it, it's all good. But at the end of the day, man, every time somebody going through a negative situation in their life, y'all want to add negativity to the negative situation, as if it's not already negative enough. And most people don't understand, when we was doing our thing, man, it's hard out here. A lot of people don't understand, man. I'm already a convicted felon. I did damn near 8 years, 7 years and 9 months to be exact. And so I'm going to just take my lick on the chin, man.
Well, you gotta hand it to him, okay? And this isn't the first TikTok that he's uploaded about this. I think he said he had 4 daughters. He was in the first TikTok I did with part 1. At least he admits it, okay? But people, and I've said it before, you know, so much of this fraud stuff, guys, jail is the easy part. It's getting out and rebuilding your life with a criminal record. And this is just my observation, all right? As I was digging up these PPP things, okay, and these are all current, recent, yada yada. But something that I think social media is doing ineffectively, it's making it seem as if going to jail is almost a party. Now, I'm not saying the guy in this TikTok that we just saw is saying that. But if you watch a lot of social media, okay, TikTok especially, it's like, hey, follow me to jail. Follow me, you know, as I turn myself in. You know, and then you get, you know, you got some of the people, you know, they're repenting and saying, oh, I'm genuinely sorry I did this, yada, yada. But a lot of people are making literally going to the pokey, all right, going to jail as if it's this not a big deal party. It's a big deal, folks. Young people, jail is a big deal. I don't give a flying rat's butt what TikTok makes it seem like. There was even one, and I won't put it on this channel, but there was one that I saw. 2 gals were literally having a friend film their TikTok dance as they were literally standing at the jail, at the counter to turn themselves in. Jail is serious business, folks. It ruins your potential to have certain jobs. Jobs that require licensing, jobs that require security. It ruins the potential for the type of quality partner you can potentially date, marry, that wants to fall in love with you. You know, if you follow social media, jail does not seem like a big deal. Sentences that require you to pay back thousands, tens of thousands of dollars with or without jail doesn't, you know, if you follow social media, it doesn't seem like these things are a big deal. Oh yeah, you know, I'm going to go to jail for 8 months. Okay, you know, here I am standing in front of the jailhouse dancing. As a teacher, 57 years old in my 19th year, ask me what a jail sentence would do to my career of any length of time. Any length of time. What would a jail sentence do? Do you think it is something I would stand up in front of a jailhouse and dance over? And, you know, there may be some young people, not all young people, okay, but those who really buy into social media, okay, that would think to themselves, oh, you know, she's just an old person saying that. Okay, no, it's not an old person saying it. It's somebody who actually is smart enough to go, you know, when you go to jail, my teaching requires a license. I have to have a background that passes a pretty high level of squeaky clean security check. I cannot afford to have jail sentences on there. I cannot afford to have liens, evictions, bad credit. I mean, even to be a teacher, I'm not, and there is a little room for forgiveness as being a teacher, but not a lot. And in the world we're in now, you know, forgiveness is becoming less and less. You know, people want near perfect. So when you're watching these social media accounts, as I have, you know, I really don't like to hang out on TikTok. As you know, I just don't really hang out on TikTok very often, except to, you know, upload videos and bring it here to you guys on YouTube. But I'm amazed at the number of young people, and they are young. This is why I'm saying young people, okay? Talking, you know, the late teens, early 20s, that seem to think that jail is like this party. You commit a crime, you're going to turn yourself in, and all is well, and you can be back to your fake eyelashes, your hair weaves, wigs, and be dancing on TikTok again. It's serious business. And I will tell you this, you know, it's easy to be young and say, well, you know, I don't ever want to be a teacher. I'm never going to go into security. Yeah, I didn't become a teacher until I was 38. I have friends who are in security in their 40s. All right. I have people I know who have to pass very high level security background checks. What you do in your 20s and 30s matter. Well, you may not be definitive, you know, in what it is you're going to do with your career. Careless moves like buying into TikTok and thinking that announcing you're going to jail, thinking that announcing that you're so bad at budgeting, You're just so incredibly broke, but thinking, oh, that's all right. It's there seems to be a lack of people really understanding the serious consequences of the decisions that we make. And I'm not saying that about everybody, but I'm saying that about a lot of the young people that hang out on TikTok, that buy into, oh, well, this is no big deal. 90 days in jail is no big deal. 6 years in jail, no big deal. It's a huge deal. Your reputation relies on it. And now more than ever, because on social media, you can't get rid of it. You can't get rid of it. You can go to jail, serve your time, you've done your penance, you're ready to move on. You're looking for a new relationship, you're ready to put the past behind you, and guess what hangs out on social media? Everything you ever did. It doesn't matter if the record was expunged. It doesn't matter if you've turned over a new leaf. That one incident that you did, depending upon how severe it is, it will follow you the rest of your life. So don't go buying it all this social media stuff that just makes, literally, there are people writing, follow me to jail. I did PPP fraud, And I'm not talking about the people who are truly remorseful over it and that are posting that experience. Okay, it's like, I'm truly remorseful over my, history of bankruptcies and auto repossessions and bad debt. But I'm not standing on social media going, hey, this is a party. This is a great thing. No, it was horrible. It was awful. Took down my self-esteem. It's those people that I'm talking about that are treating this stuff like it's just no big deal. It's a huge deal, and it can affect your relationships, the future income ability that you have, how long it takes to get a job. Because let's face it, in social media, if I'm going to look you up and I'm an employer, am I going to pick you that went to jail for 90 days for fraud, or am I going to pick someone else that has a squeaky clean record? 90 days, 30 days, anything that shows dishonesty can be very damaging professionally. Sorry for that rant, but I just noticed a lot of this as I was, as I've been peeling through TikTok at the PPP stuff. It's just how many people seem to think that jail is just no big thing. Just pay the fine, you'll be good. Yay, boo. No, it's not that easy. Not that easy. All right, this lady here, she is not the PPP fraudster. Let's make this very clear, okay? But she has some pretty great things to say, and I think we should hear her out.
I got a public service announcement. The federal government is looking for everybody that fraudulently filed PPP loan applications. They got the money. And I'm going to try to give you just a little bit of advice. And I'm not no attorney or nothing like that, but I know something about the government. And you probably want to tell on yourself and get yourself a plea deal before they come looking for you, because they ain't got nothing but time. Do you know they got people that are forensic economists? They are forensic accountants, and all they do all day is look for fraud.
A lot of people, young people namely, I think mostly young, don't realize there is nothing you can hide. Okay, you know how there are auditors that go through IRS records and all of that stuff? Well, there are auditors that do nothing but follow bank accounts. That's what they specialize in. Forensic. Think of a crime scene and how detailed it gets. They can hold up a blue light and see everything. Well, they got auditors that just, lick their lips at being able to do that stuff, and they do it for a living. And you think your 20, 25, 30-year-old, but, taking out PPP loans is going to be smarter than they are. No.
In bank statements. And folk that went out here and did all this. Now, baby, I'm going to tell you, I got a friend work at the federal penitentiary. Been out there about 30 years. It ain't no good place for you.
You can't get your hair and makeup done. And what it would do to my face, I would not look like this at 57. My face would dry out very much because of the, I think it's probably artificial lighting and no good air. Couldn't do my facials and all of that stuff. For those of you, especially ladies, you like to get your hair and your nails and all of that stuff done, you can't do that in the pokey. At least, not that I'm aware of.
Now, it is better than a state prison, but it still is a prison. A prison is a prison is a prison.
So I got a PPP loan. And with that loan, I legitimately used it for my business. I've been in business for such a long time, so that PPP loan was helpful, but the program was not function and administrated in the correct manner.
And he's absolutely right. The way this PPP loan was rolled out, it was literally come one, come all. And there are, unfortunately, a lot of fraudsters. I mean, that's just what I'm going to call them because it gets tiring saying PPP every time. There are a lot of fraudsters that are actually blaming the government and saying, well, they should have made it so easy for us to get it. Well, you weren't supposed to touch it anyways. It wouldn't matter. Just a thought. Okay, but there, and I remember when it came out and they were like, all you have to do is just state your business and, you know, how many employees. And at one point I was thinking to myself, this is just like a candy party, all the candy you can eat. But it never once crossed my mind to apply. Why? Because I ain't stupid. There is no way in God's name I'm going to sign fake documents, even if I wanted the money. Okay, and I didn't because I'm not a business owner and I know how hard business owners work. All right, so the thought didn't even cross my mind, but still, I do remember thinking this is just like a free-for-all. And the government did not do a great job establishing it. But part of it is they were trying to get it out as a rush. Time was of the essence. So you've got a lot of fraudsters that are saying, well, the government should have made it so easy. No, we can't write off of that. We must take personal accountability for our actions.
Because for me, my PPP loan wasn't forgiven. Like, I had to pay the money back. And because of that, you know, I think that a lot of people who receive PPP loans, like most people, I'll probably say 98% of the people receive that money fraudulently, if like not up to like 70, 80% for sure. And those people, most of those people who receive the money fraudulently, those loans were forgiven. Unlike myself, like a real business owner.
And speaking of forgiven, you know, people are easily, you know, and again, don't follow what you listen to on TikTok unless it's from authority, like what we're going to be listening to coming up. She's an attorney. But people are going, oh, well, if it's forgiven, that's all fine and well. No, it's not, because not all loans qualify for forgiveness. And the IRS has to determine, does your loan qualify for forgiveness or not? And they will write you and let you know. Now, we're going to listen to this lady. And I think she says it really well, so I'm not even going to try to interpret it because she does a better job than I could. Let's hear her out.
Talk about PPP loan fraud and bankruptcy, the risky strategy that can land you in prison. If you obtained a PPP loan by falsifying your business financial records, and then you apply for bankruptcy when PPP loan forgiveness is denied, you can face serious consequences. For example, let's say a small business owner inflated the payroll expenses on their loan application to receive a higher loan amount, and then they spend the funds on non-qualifying expenses. When they apply for PPP loan forgiveness, it is denied because of the improper use of the funds. The business then files for bankruptcy, hoping to discharge the PPP loan debt. If the business's bankruptcy filing is found to be fraudulent, not only the debt won't be discharged, but the business owner will likely face criminal charges for bankruptcy fraud in addition to PPP loan fraud.
Oh, that's a nightmare I don't want to wake up to. Bankruptcy fraud and PPP loan fraud.
And bankruptcy fraud is a federal crime punishable by up to 5 years in prison. And
so now you have two federal charges, PPP and bankruptcy. Two federal charges against you.
A fine of up to $250,000. The business could also face civil penalties, including having the bankruptcy discharge denied, meaning they would still be responsible for the repaying the PPP loan, and falsifying financial records to obtain PPP loan and then filing for bankruptcy to avoid repayment is a risky and illegal strategy. If business is struggling to repay the loan, there are many other options available, like modification of loan or deferments. So if you obtain
or turning yourself into jail voluntarily because you know you just kind of screwed yourself over.
Your PPP loan by falsifying your financial records, apply for PPP loan forgiveness and got denied, do not file for bankruptcy and expose yourself to further criminal penalties. It's crucial to consult with an experienced criminal defense attorney.
Let's do it.
Louis DeMera Holness broke down in federal court. She was crying. She was apologizing to people who could have, frankly, really used this money. In the end, though, she will still face prison time. She walks away from the federal courthouse. Her time outside now limited, her daughter in her arms.
It's a mistake that I made, and I'm putting it in my fast to continue moving forward.
DeMera Holness talks outside after a judge just sentenced her to 1 year and 8 months in prison. She'll have to surrender within 90 days to serve that time after pleading guilty to scheming and lying in order to get her hands on COVID-19 relief money.
I apologize to the community. I apologize to my family. I apologize to my friends. And most importantly, I apologize to my dad, whose career really took a toll from my own wrongdoings.
She's made a mistake. We're humans, we made a mistake.
She's the daughter of former Broward Mayor and congressional candidate Dale Holness, who was there.
She accepts responsibility. Certainly she'll pay a price, and we just got to be here to help her rebuild her life.
Prosecutors insist this was an elaborate scheme. She applied for $300,000 worth of aid from the Paycheck Protection Program meant to help small businesses stay afloat. Said her company employed 18 people when in fact she had no employees. Lied on several documents, roped in other people as well. Prosecutors said she did it out of greed. She said while she has no excuse, her finances, her life at the time wasn't all that it seemed.
Hey, this is a mistake that I made. Not out of greed, but out of desperation as a pregnant woman trying to make a way for herself. And I just want to move forward with my life and continue doing the work that I was doing before.
No. Okay, we're going to back up here before we go into this next one. All right, actually several things to discuss. First off, let's talk about the daughter in the arms, all right? That would be very embarrassing, having this cute little girl, be basically put on social media for the rest of her life, because, on social media, nothing disappears. There's my mom, the $300,000 fraudster. I'm sure that's probably not going to play well as she gets older. You may want to move on with your life, but the internet forgets nothing. So that's one thing. What an embarrassment. Let's see. She says it's a mistake. I don't believe that falsifying records of up to $300,000, saying you have 18 employees. This is why you see my notepad, in case anyone doesn't know. I keep track of notes on here. Saying you have 18 employees when you actually have none or way less. These are not mistakes. To be able to do a scam like this, this is just her character. I will even forgive mistakes for, let's say, a one-time misdemeanor. I'll give mistakes for one time, maybe, two guys brawling it out in a bar or something, and they, wind up in a little tussle, and it was a one-time thing, and they both go, yeah, we realize we overreacted. I mean, there are things that happen. But being able to scheme out of $300,000 of PPP, that's, what is it? That's the Paycheck Protection Program, okay? Being able to scheme $300,000, that takes a mastermind, and it takes a lot of planning. When I think of mistakes, I think of things that are very impromptu. Okay, you momentarily lost your cool and you never did it again. You momentarily did something. Okay, this is not momentary. This is planning. I'm sorry that her father, I think they said he was a one-time Broward County commissioner or something like that. Unfortunately, apples don't always fall far from the tree. At least that's the phrase that we hear. So it sounds like he didn't get reelected. Not blaming this on the parent in any way, okay? But what I am saying is, when she says my father's career took a toll, it sounds like he lost just about everything. So that's something to consider. If you're going to do PPP fraud and you have, family members that are in public office, it doesn't help their career any, that's for sure. I think it's pathetic that she said that this is what she had to do because she was pregnant. I think that's a pathetic excuse, and I can't think of a better word than pathetic. Lots of women are pregnant. Okay? I don't believe they defraud $300,000. I believe they don't commit fraud against the federal government for $300,000. So I think saying, well, I'm just a pregnant woman and, all wasn't great as it seemed. Well, it sounds to me like if she has a father that is able to run for office and stuff, she's certainly not on the low end of the socioeconomic and education ladder. What we really have here, family, is we just have a case of a greedy woman. I just find it to be a real insult to say, well, I was pregnant. There, I'm assuming is the baby. Because remember, this was done a couple years ago, but it's only now. Recently, the feds are chasing them, chasing the fraudsters down. To say that was the reason you committed PPP fraud, then what did all the pregnant women do before the PPP loans were given out and they were stressed out? Did they go rob banks? Hold up liquor stores? I don't believe they did that. I think what we're really dealing with is lack of character. That's really what we're dealing with. I could forgive a misdemeanor. Someone who does something, one time, never does it again. I can overlook that, This was an elaborate scheme. I think they said that. Absolutely elaborate. So, and then she says she just kind of wants to go back and return to her community. And returning is never as easy as people think it is. It's not like, hey, I committed $300,000 fraud. Now I'm just going to pick up right where I left off. No, you're not. The people you knew probably may not wish to hang out with you any longer because of what you did. Even if they still like you personally and they figure you made a dumb mistake, the problem is sometimes, as her father can testify, it's sometimes it's about who you know. You're supposed to know people for the good reasons, not the bad reasons. But sometimes someone commits a crime and other people are like, look, I'd love to hang out with you, but you're known as a fraudster and that could hurt my professional reputation. Yes, people, you have to think of things like that before you go out, committing crimes, big or small. What is the impression people will have of you? This was no small crime. This was elaborate. This took a lot of time planning. And had she never gotten caught, all right, she'd be going on living her best life. So $300,000, and she gets, I think, a puny 18 months in jail. Hey, it is what it is. Oh, let me hit the play button.
Trying to make a way for herself, and I just want to move forward with my life and continue doing the work that I was doing before.
Now, first off, in the feds, you only do 85% of your time because you get 54 good days per year. But before the First Step Act was passed a couple years back, it used to be 47 good days per year, but now it's 54 good days per year. Now, let me tell you this, I repeat, you do not have to earn the 54 good days per year because it will already be calculated within your early release date once Grand Prairie receives your papers from the federal courts. Now, the only thing you need to do is make sure you keep your good time by not catching shots or write-ups or getting into any trouble. Because in the feds, every inmate has 2 release dates. You have your early release date and you have your max release date. And your early release date is the release date that already got your good time calculated within it. Now your max release date is the release date that you will have if you lost all your good time.
If he worked as hard in school, I'm just saying, I don't know what his schooling is, but I'm gonna go in the shallow end of the water and say he probably could have worked harder. If he worked as hard in school as he's worked on understanding the release dates for prison, imagine where he would be. Just imagine where he would be. Young man, I hope you're out by now doing great things. But I want you to think about this. do you know the right information? Do you know the things that are advancing your life? You know, when I was at my most broke, and I've had 2 bankruptcies, no secret on this channel, I could rattle to you when the due dates were for credit cards, like this guy can rattle to you the prison early release dates, good time dates, in terms I've already forgotten because sometimes I think I have ADHD, okay? But if you know the information for the wrong things, you might want to consider that. Like, I could literally tell you when I was at my most broke, I could tell you, oh, this credit card has, this amount of balance transfer, and this is the fee. And I know if I can go ahead and I can put $200 and I can transfer it onto this card because this card has an extra $50 on it, yada, yada. I could go back and forth between credit cards because my ass was so broke that I was always looking for the next card to either run up charges that I could not afford on, or to do a balance transfer, which, yes, I am aware. I mean, keep in mind, I was in my 20s. I'm 57 now. But keep in mind, back in my 20s, okay, when my broke ass didn't understand how credit cards work, and I didn't understand money, fighting depression, the whole 9 yards, I could rattle credit card, balance transfers, fees, and all that to you, like this guy can do prison days. Today, I could not tell you. I have probably about a dozen credit cards. I could not tell you today because I don't carry a month-to-month credit card balance. I could not tell you today what the balance rates and transfer fees are on my card. I couldn't tell you. Have you ever, you have a credit card and it says to you, you can get texted notices? Because I do carry one card that I like to travel with, and I just use it, for everyday stuff. But have you ever, you can get automatic text messages on your phone? Okay, family, you know what I'm talking about, that says, we'll tell you when the due date is and all of that stuff. We'll tell you, we'll text you if a payment has been made. Well, there's an option you can have. And it's, we'll tell you if you're near your limit or over your limit. Yeah, some of you may be familiar with that. I certainly was, 30 years ago, I was really familiar with it. Today, I don't even use that option. Why? Because there isn't a card of my 12 cards that's going to be near the balance, over the limit balance, or anything else. It is so far from that. Because I use one card, I pay it off every month. I have no need to be told when I'm near the balance. But I do like to be told if there's an overseas purchase, because there should be no overseas purchases. But when you can start relaxing on things like that, that's when you know your financial corner is turning. So this guy clearly has deep dived, God bless him, into the timeline of early release. So I would say that this is great information, but I'd rather have you know information that helps advance you a bit more.
Release date is the release date that you will have if you lost all your good time.
Calvin, that player is part of the New York Jets, and now federal investigators say he and others filed PPP loan applications for more than $24 million.
Okay, before we go on this, can you imagine all the young boys, and I am going to say boys because they're the men, okay, but they're boys at the time, that are dreaming of going into professional sports. They're dreaming. And this Yahoo loses it all over a freaking fraud. It blows me away.
Josh Bellamy of St. Petersburg has now been charged with wire and bank fraud, in addition to conspiracy to commit wire and bank fraud. Investigators say he conspired with others to obtain millions of dollars in fraudulent PPP loans. Bellamy allegedly got more than $1 million for his own company, Drip Entertainment. They say he then bought $104,000 worth of luxury goods from designers like Dior and Gucci. They also allege he spent more than $62,000 of the loan at the Seminole Hard Rock Casino here in Broward. He's accused of trying to get PPP loans for family members and associates.
Do you know what? You know what kills me is how many people were trying to rope other people into the fraud with them. Oh, and I was nice, family. I looked up his sentencing, and here it is. It says he received 37 months in federal prison for his 1.2 million PPP loan fraud. See, I like to bring you quality content, so if I could look up what their conviction was, I did it for you. All right. Now, I want you to think about how stupid this was. He did this for 1.2 million. Now, what could he have earned in the NFL? Even just, sitting your butt on a bench, being a bench warmer. Where could he be? Instead, he gets to spend the next 3 years and a month. But according to the other video, he may get some time off for good behavior. Okay, so we'll just round it off. Just a little under 3 years, around 3 years. He gets to spend it in federal prison. What a foolish waste of youth. What a foolish waste of talent. This really is all about greed. That's, when the money was being given out, and some of the commenters on the last 2 PPP fraud videos, which I did, all right, you guys commented, and I was a bit surprised how many people tried to rope you into it also. It's like, is there no end? But it's clear that some out in my audience were very aware that it's not so much that this was a scam. Some people say, this was just the government trying to trap you. No, it's not the government trying to trap you. Yes, it's the government being inefficient with money and in dispersing it, but that's nothing new. But what it really came down to, if you really want to get down to it, it's about your character. What did you do? How did you behave when the opportunity to have a whole bunch of money handed to you seemed to be free? What did you do? What did you do when you thought the authorities' back was turned? That's something I always tell my students. What will you do when I walk out of the room? And what I think you will do is how I base my trust. All right? So these are adults. These aren't 13, 14-year-old middle school students. These are adults, and you're seeing the character of a lot of these adults. What did they do when they thought authority wasn't looking? And, that first lady, the one with the father who's the Broward County Commissioner, she's an attractive lady, professional looking photo, probably, maybe not all of you, but some of you out there might have thought, she'd be good for a date. Obviously she's married and stuff. I think she's married. Who knows? Okay. I don't know if she's married or not, but all I know is she has child. But that appearance of professionalism and being put together, that's just an appearance. It's not who these people really are. Who they really are showed. And I think the PPP loan, showed who really wasn't wearing clothes. You're just looking like you all put together. And trust me, I remember when the PPP thing came out, and I was thinking, I too thought this is like a free-for-all, but it would never dawn on me to forge documents. For gosh sakes, don't put your name on documents. And the other thing, people, if you're going to go out and commit stupid stuff like this, you don't do it with, a whole bunch of other people. Because when it gets right down to it, one of you ain't going to be able to survive jail very long, and you're going to be, squawking, to the feds about what happened. You cannot do stuff like this. Okay, I don't think you can do it on your own very successfully. Apparently not successfully at all. But you sure can't do it with a whole bunch of other people and expect them all to keep a secret. Come on, think about it. So this NFL player received 37 months federal prison for $1.2 million. I rest my case, family. I believe he could have made that in the NFL and then some. So now he gets to come out of prison. The NFL's going to reject him. And don't think for a minute, family, that getting out of jail, prison, whatever, okay, after you've been locked up, don't think it's as easy as what they make it seem on TikTok. Or what even that first lady makes it seem like, I just want to get back to doing what I was doing. No, because now you're trying to get back with a criminal record. Now you may have to go to a halfway house for a part of the time. You're going to have to explain to every freaking employer why you have a felony. Or even why you have a misdemeanor. It's tough. What are you going to do? You like manual labor if you're a guy, because you may be pushed into a manual labor job for years to come. And everybody says, well, you can just go out and be self-employed. That's not as easy as you may think either, because some self-employments require a license. And guess what those licenses require? A background check. Don't ever forget the part of the story that people don't tell you, and that is what life is after prison. after trying to get out. It is not just as simple as I served my time and now I'm going to go out and just pick up that, job that I was at. That job most likely is not going to want you back. Or even if they want you back, they can't hire you back due to legal or insurance purposes. In other words, an employer, this is something else people don't think about. When employers hire people, even if that employer wants to hire you, you must not only always pass a background check with the company, you may be required to pass a background check through the insurance that insures that company to make sure that you're insurable. These are things you don't think about. Don't ever be misled to think that getting out of jail is just a simple little thing and you just go and get yourself another job. Unless you want to do and again, we're not, by any means, talking down to wait staff or, hard laborers, okay? But please don't misunderstand that. But, if you came from a white collar desk job like this lady here, that first lady, Mrs. Broward County Commissioner daughter, all right, she's going to have a hard time bouncing back. She's going to, this, and I think she's in jail right now as we speak. So if she gets out, hi, moving on. Oh, geez.
Hi, my name's Kyle. I did 7 years in federal prison, 5 for securities fraud and wire fraud, and 2 for violating the terms of my supervised release. Some people...
I would say congratulations on that whole list, but somehow or another, I don't think the moment is right.
People often ask how I survived in prison. First things first, I'm Hawaiian and gay and a white-collar offender. I wear glasses most of the time, so I actually did look like a sex offender. I started out in a minimum prison, which has no sex offenders, and we'll talk about that in another video. But the way I survived is my biggest tip. Keep your head down, especially when you first get to prison. You don't want to be asking a lot of questions and starting to mind other people's business. See how things operate and see how you can get along. Another way I survived federal prison is that I did a lot of legal work. I had my JD and my paralegal certification. I'm not a bar attorney or anything like that, but I know a lot about the law, and I was able to help a lot of different people from a lot of different cars and groups. In my reputation.
Sorry, but imagine if they put all the energy of the stuff that they know, they had put that onto the right side of the law where they would be at. And like he said, he can't get barred. I don't know if he ever will be able to be barred. To be approved to practice law. I don't know. But just imagine, something people think. People sometimes think that everybody in prison is stupid. No, in fact, I'm going to dare say that some of the brightest people, some of the brightest minds are behind bars. I don't want to get into it, but I'm going to dare say, like on a cup of hot cocoa at Thornton's gas station, I'm going to say some of the brightest people are actually behind bars.
Improved by that.
Daniela Rendon was a super hot Instagram lifestyle influencer who built a following with content at the intersection of sex and ostentatious opulence. And before you call me a hypocrite, I'll admit that I follow hundreds of pretty much identical women like this in my own social media feed. See?
God love him. When I first heard this, for having the guts to say I follow women like this in my own social media feed. I'd say it makes them sound a little but we're not going to get into it. He does admit it. That's just no, that just kind of gives me that creepy crawlies.
No hate from me. Daniela's gimmick is that she claimed to be a luxury real estate agent in Miami, which funded her impossible lifestyle filled with private jets, sexy outfits, and a Bentley to call her own. Daniela's house of cards collapsed when an FBI investigation revealed that this mother of 3 was actually pulling down about $48,000 per year selling properties in the model homes of a Trump group housing development.
So in other words, she was making what a teacher makes, but looking like she was just the jet-setting rich girl. So much of social media is fake. Sometimes I think almost all of it is fake. Even my background here is fake, okay?
Then how on earth was she affording this Instagram lifestyle? The answer was fraudulent COVID relief PPP loans. She falsified applications and enjoyed a windfall of $400,000 of your tax dollars that she spent on a Bentley lease, a luxury apartment, cosmetic surgery, and several pairs of remarkably strappy shoes.
The only thing that might do her well in prison is the cosmetic surgery. Look, if you're going to do stuff like this, at least do something Yeah, the one smart thing she did, do something they can't take back. Look, you know what? I did cosmetic surgery on myself, and you can't take it back. So at least while you're serving time, all right, you got the pleasure of looking and wearing whatever it was you had tattooed, rebuilt, or whatever on you.
The FBI investigation resulted in federal fraud charges to which Daniela pled guilty. She wrote a 30-page apology letter to the judge who sentenced her to 3.5 years in prison with a sizable restitution bill hanging over her head when she's released in early 2027.
So here's the thing. How many of you, and let's face it, I like to put it back on the picture just so you kind of remember where we were at, okay? How many of you, and I know I've done this, even though we shouldn't, you know, you look at somebody on social media and you're thinking, there's the life. They're living the life. Okay, as you're toiling away, in my case, in my 840 square feet, driving my Toyota Corolla. But something that we forget, we don't know what the debt is. We don't know what they did wrongfully to get there. Okay, and the more, it's kind of like this, the more I see of social media, the more I hate it. Because really, you know, you got the, and I never use Google Lens, you know, the things that make your face look a little different, your skin look a little smoother. No, I'm a child of, I was born in 1967, so most of us in our 50s, we weren't raised under Google Lens and altering everything. It is what it is. Every wrinkle, every gray hair, yada yada. I don't use any of that camera stuff because I can't handle not presenting myself in a real way. You know, the way you see me and all the different aspects of me, whether I'm, you know, exercising at the gym with my hair pulled back, and whether I look like this, okay, whatever, it's got to be real. It's got to be something that somebody can go, oh, yeah, you know what? She looks like that in person. Or maybe, you know, she looks like that when she goes to the gym. But what we wind up seeing is we see people living this so-called rich life, and then you find out she's making what a school teacher makes. In fact, want to get real? She makes less than what I make. She makes $48,000. I make $63,000. But again, comes down to greed, trying to live the image. And I will never understand how they actually intended to get away with this. I will. It's like people who start, what is that fraud? The Ponzi scheme frauds. I always go, at some point, it's gonna break. There's no way to maintain it for forever. So I'm always amazed going, what did you guys think was going to happen? So she was living her $400,000 lifestyle on a $48,000 income. Just, you know, something to consider when you think, oh, gee, you know, when you think you're behind everybody else and you're not doing as well, you're probably doing a whole lot better than you think.
Bill hanging over her head when she's released in early 2027.
Someone that did time, I believe that you need about $100 a month. You're going to live comfortably in prison. Now, when I say live comfortably, I mean you're going to have all your hygiene items, you're going to be able to have coffee, you're going to be able to make some meals, and you're going to be okay. Recently, someone told me that their loved one gets $400 a month in prison. Now, that to me is balling. That is a lot of money in prison. When you first go to prison, you're going to need a little bit more to get your sneakers, get your radio. But after that, $100 a month is pretty freaking solid. And that's from somebody who lived on $25 a month and hustled for everything. $25 a month to me was all I needed to get my hygiene stuff. And then I hustled for everything else. So $100, oh boy, that's a lot. $400, you're freaking out of control balling. You got soups for days.
2 years ago, the aging church was fighting to stay open. It defaulted on a $1.2 million loan for repairs. In 2020 and 2021, arrest papers now show the church's pastor, Homer Altador, getting 3 separate payroll protection program loans for nonprofits connected with the church.
Not even the church. The holy grail of all of life itself. If you believe in, you know, that sort of thing. I know not everybody does, but if you do, not even the church pastors, bishops, and everybody else, okay, could resist the temptation of the devil of the PPP.
Loans he got were, our investigation found, undeserved and totaled over $1 million.
The church was torn down after a developer bought the property in 2022. But Pastor Altador's problems resurfaced a year later when Riviera Beach Police and the Palm Beach County State Attorney's Office started investigating if the money was really spent to keep people employed and the nonprofits active. According to the arrest report, PPP money was used to buy fast food, gas, car rental, airline tickets, and restaurants, leading to Altador's arrest on fraud and money laundering.
For a church that doesn't even exist anymore, that was torn down. Let us not forget that.
Headed to federal prison, and you want to mitigate that prison sentence, meaning make it as small as humanly possible. Think about your criminal history and then start making phone calls. Call the clerks of the courts where you have criminal history and see if it can be expunged or removed. If a charge has been dismissed, it can be removed.
This DC.
Okay, before we go on to this next story, look, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life because Lord knows, family, I have made my mistakes. But just like this past TikToker just a minute ago said, think about your criminal history and call the courts where you have criminal history. Does anyone see anything wrong with that? I need my fan. If you are having to sit and deeply reflect all the areas where you have had criminal history, you think that your life perhaps may be just a little bit in the wrong direction. It's like, hold on, let me think now. Let's see, my first arrest was here, and then my second arrest. Yes, I personally know the clerk at this court. If you have to think about it, because you've had so many run-ins with the law, I'm just a suggestion. All right, this guy here. Well, I'm just going to let him tell the story, but he's the type of person that has done wrong and is trying to convince himself that he's really done right. You'll see what I'm talking about.
The advisory neighborhood commissioner was recently sentenced to more than 5 years in prison for wire fraud in Virginia.
I caught COVID. I lost my job. I was, out on my own.
Before he became a commissioner, prosecutors say Clayton Rosenberg submitted fraudulent applications to multiple COVID-19 relief programs, including the Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP, for small businesses. The feds say Rosenberg would inflate each business's number of employees, monthly expenses, and revenue so they could get more money. In turn, Rosenberg would get a cut and in all received more than $1.6 million.
That don't even make sense.
Rosenberg says those numbers, though, and his role were exaggerated.
This is a large network. You don't even know everyone involved. What was your role in this puzzle?
I was just a middleman, just a person that, got referrals and then referred them.
I was just the middleman. I was just the getaway driver for the bank robbery. I was just. That's called a person who has yet to take accountability for what they did. And he's involved in a network. Okay, when you start hearing the words like this is a network, that's big time stuff. So he says, I was just a middleman. He has not yet taken accountability.
That's it. A lot of times I didn't get any money, and I had to wait for these individual business owners to pay the person that they know to pay me.
So in other words, as the criminal, he realized that sometimes the other criminals didn't pay him. That's as dumb of a comment as someone who takes, I'm sure somewhere in USA, I either heard it or we all know it's happened. Some criminal takes another criminal to small claims court because they didn't give them their dope or whatever. Hey, I'm taking you to small claims court because I bought a bag of illegal whatever from you and you didn't give it to me. So what this guy here is figured out is, oh, gee, I'm just the middleman and I'm working in a network with a bunch of criminals. And wouldn't you know it, damn, when those criminals don't get their money, they don't pay me. So I'm sitting here, another criminal, and I'm waiting for them to pay me. This is like going down the rabbit hole in Alice in Wonderland.
Rosenberg says the leader of this fraudulent enterprise approached him with what he calls an opportunity in the early days of the pandemic, and they carried it out for a year.
So someone comes up to you and says, we have this opportunity. How was it pitched to you?
I didn't know none of the business owners. I did not know not one person.
But you knew what they were pitching to you. This opportunity was wrong.
Yeah. I knew that, this was a wrong situation, but I tried to see good in the wrong. I tried to see that at least I can say that I helped a business owner out that naturally they didn't know how to get approval.
Prosecutors.
That is the most bold answer I've ever heard. Hey, gotta watch the language on here, right? Seriously. Well, I knew it was wrong, officer, but I figured if I did wrong, my wrong would be made more right because I'm at least helping somebody else. I understand, officer, that I committed a crime, but really I committed the crime for a great reason. So I thought I would work with a network of people to help scam other people. Like, really, bro? He does not see himself as a victim of his actions. He has found a way to excuse them mentally, to excuse his actions. He was just trying to help other people, and he didn't have any money himself, so he figured, oh, it's okay if I go ahead and break the law. Put in the comments, family, were you approached? Were you approached to help break the law? Don't worry, you can use a fake name and all that, all right? But I was surprised that a few people put in the comments that, yeah, people had actually asked them to help commit the crime. So, leave in the comments if you wish. Don't worry, this is not being sent to the FBI, nor do I care, okay? But I mean, I'm blown away. This person approached me and I needed employees for this fake business. So I asked my family members, or worse yet, I didn't ask my family members and I just took their identity anyways. He is not, he needs to spend some time in prison, and he will. He needs to spend some time in prison reflecting, okay, on his part in this. And stop saying words like, well, I was just the middleman, and they didn't even pay me, when the criminals got paid, I expected to be paid promptly.
Say Rosenberg used the money for luxury items, including new cars and hundreds of dollars on products for his beard.
They put this
beard products. Oh Lord, we could go places with that. We're not. I don't think the products are working on the beard because apparently it's affecting his brain.
It's on me and say $1,800 for beard care items. Like, I mean, look at my beard. This is it's a nice beard, but I didn't spend no $1,800 on beard care, and it's like a joke. It makes me look, like a fool.
Rosenberg said.
And that's the problem when you become dishonest. We don't know whether to believe you or not. Maybe you really did spend $1,800. If you did spend $1,800, I'd say you got scammed on beard care. But because he's clearly a convicted felon on the PPP thing, all right, because he does get sentenced, and for legal purposes, if I am wrong on that, I meant to say he is an alleged convicted felon, allegedly, okay? Allegedly he did the crime, okay? But when you run around in that circle, even if you are telling the truth, people will not believe you.
As he was told he was being investigated in 2021. When they told you were being investigated, you knew you had done wrong at that point.
Yes.
From that point, he tried to turn his life around by getting his MBA and even running for office in D.C.
I think he lost running for office. On the other hand, it is D.C., so he might have had a fighting chance.
Everything back. I gave my shirt off my back to the community. I didn't do anything as an elected official.
What do you say to the folks who, they already don't trust elected leaders, they don't trust the government, and they hear something like this?
I say, before judging, get the facts. Before jumping to a conclusion, get the facts. I'm facing time now, and I just regret it all, and I just want to apologize to the business people that could not get their loans approved, folks that, I just want to apologize to everybody, my family, my community.
Okay, and as I said, I took the extra step because I care about your knowledge, and found I just took a screenshot here. He was sentenced to more than 5 years. He's in the pokey right now. Probably working on his beard. Maybe they have a barber shop in jail or something. I really never heard him say that he takes responsibility for it. He's deflected it to everybody else, but ultimately it was about him.
I get asked all the time, how did you do prison time? You don't look like anybody or seem like anybody that would have went to prison. Baby, looks don't discriminate. Like, prison don't discriminate because of what you look like. I got through it by the grace of God and an MP3 player. And honestly, you just really don't think about it. Like, you don't think about how much time you have, or else your time would be long and drawn out. If you're headed to prison, you better not be marking down them days. It's gonna seem like it takes forever for your time to end.
$20,000, $15,000, $40,000. All Paycheck Protection loans forgiven, none of them earned.
We have people who are in positions of trust and authority who supervise other people, who deal with vendors and contractors. And the federal government isn't going to come and prosecute these cases.
Will Fletcher is the Inspector General for Chicago Public Schools. His office spent months investigating these claims, finding 14 CPS staffers had committed this fraud.
CPS staffers, just that stands for the Chicago Public School staffers.
They're lying about how much money they lost at a second job or making up a business to get the money.
Making up a business. There is no way this is a mistake. You don't go and think up a business, get a tax ID number, the EIN number, go file with your Secretary of State. Like when I had my little cake business, which I don't have anymore. And no, I never filed anything on the business or anything else because I decided to turn it into a hobby. That was summer 2024. I only had it around for a few months and said, I think I'll keep it a hobby. So these are school board workers. School board employees that work with children.
In one case, CBS 2 analyzed public records and uncovered a loan for a central office administrator making more than $200,000, receiving $15,000 in forgivable money.
So this staffer, just to make this clear for my audience, this staffer had a public service income of $200,000. And she loses her job for a freaking $15,000 PPP fraud. Yet she had a $200,000 Chicago school employee, I guarantee you, with full pension, benefits, yada yada, and she gave it up for $15,000 PPP. That is as dumb as the one we heard earlier today, family, about the football player who gave up the NFL so he could get $1 million. Yet instead of spending the time working on his NFL skills and becoming a multi-million-dollar player, I really believe that the PPP brought out the core of who people are, the absolute core of who you are.
Crystal Cooper was the former chief operating officer at CPS. Records show her salary was $220,000, and she received just over $15,000 in PPP.
What was surprising was just how many people who earned six-figure salaries were willing to commit PPP fraud and jeopardize their career.
Here's 3 things I learned after serving time in federal prison. Number 1, the world waits on no one. After being away for so many years and coming home, I realized everything was different. Somewhere along the line, I thought people would wait on me. I thought life would wait on me. It's weird, but it's true. It was almost traumatizing to see that the world had moved on without me. So it taught me, life waits on no one. Number 2, the saying is true. When someone is out of sight, they really go out of your mind. People forgot about me, and it hurt me. I had to learn not to take things personally, though. They didn't think about me because I wasn't around, and I wasn't around because of what I had done, and that was my fault. Nobody's obligated to do something for you while you're going through a hardship. I had to learn that the hard way. And number 3, you can always bounce back. I've seen people who weren't supposed to even see the light of day come out of prison. I've seen people thrive after being in such a low place. I'm one of those people. And so I know now that it doesn't matter where you are, it's where you're going.
Like my body right now is like my mind don't know that I'm this big. My mind does not know that I'm this big. So I be feeling like I could do everything. So when I walk in the gym, I feel like I'm fit. Or like if I'm trying to do certain I feel like I could do it.
Dank tells us she was just trying to get to a Detroit Lions watch party this month when her Lyft rolled up.
I can fit in this car.
But believe me, you can.
Yes, I can.
The driver said his tires could not handle her weight.
For every big person you turn down because they can't fit in your car?
Yeah, because they need to order the Uber XL instead.
You know what? I don't never have to order Uber XL. I just want them to know, like, it really hurt my feelings.
I knew it was illegal and I knew that it was wrong.
Her attorneys, John Marco and Zach Runyon, say weight is a protected characteristic in Michigan by law.
It would be no different than a driver pulling up and saying, you know, I don't want to have black people in my car. I don't want to have Christians in my car or Muslims in my car. It's the same. Under the law, it's the same.
The lawsuit is filed.
Would you really let Dank Demoss get into your car?
She saw an opportunity to make money and to get attention, and she took it. I don't believe this is the first time she's been rejected by a Lyft or an Uber driver. It's happened before, and she told herself, you know what? The next time this happens, I'm going to record it so I can use it to get attention because I'm a 36-year-old failed rapper. You can look at this person and tell that she's never taken accountability for anything in her life. And to make matters worse, to get this guy fired when all he did was assess the situation and realize that, hey, I don't believe it's safe for my car, me, or for you. But instead of her being a rational person and saying, hey, you know what? He might be right. Let me order an Uber XL. She decided to get into her feelings and make it look like he was trying to discriminate against her because of her weight. If you watch the video, you can hear the car. It sounds like it was struggling. I don't blame him. And to get that man fired and now you're suing Lyft to try to get some money and get some attention. You are a 36-year-old failed rapper. Get a life.
Do you know how big you have to be for a person to tell you you can't get in a car? If I know I got a rinky-dink car and I got to pick up somebody that's this big, I'm not taking that ride. Yeah, you might pay me my little $10 or whatever, but you're going to cost me my suspension. And when my car break down, you're not going to help me pay for repairs. So you know what? No. Bottom line, I don't think the Lyft driver was wrong because you know what? He didn't even say it was you. He said, yo, my car can't handle it. No, my car is too little. And you're going to sue the Lyft company. The craziest thing is, Lyft's probably going to ban him from driving and be like, yo, you can't work with us no more because you didn't cause us this lawsuit. When he didn't really do nothing. He was just being a normal person. Any person they right mind could see, yo, he couldn't pick her up in his car.
Being big comes with a lot of consequences. It comes with a lot of struggle. It comes with a lot of inconveniences. One of those inconveniences being when you order a Lyft or Uber, you got to be careful about the size of the car that's going to come and pick you up. And don't let you be with a group of people and you got multiple people that got to sit in the back seat. Now you got everybody all squished up because of your size. Like when you big, there's a lot of situations where you're going to be put in uncomfortable positions because of your size. You mad at the Uber and Lyft driver? Are you mad at the airplane companies? Like when you have to go to the airport and they make you get an extendo for the seatbelt, or they make you buy 2 seats, or you go to an amusement park and you can't ride the rides because they tell you that you can't fit. When you get to a certain size and you get so big, a lot of things you can't do no more. A lot of normal things that normal people do on a normal basis, you are not able to do anymore. You can't even go into a regular store and buy clothes. And if you can, they got a tiny little section for you to choose from and all the stuff ugly, right? So, you know, we got to stop lying about when you get severely obese and believing that you're just going to be treated regularly and life is going to go as normal. No, it's super inconvenient when you start getting that big.
It saddens me to think that because of our own imperfections, I'll say, that we think that we can take it out on other people. That young lady ordered that Lyft and knew that she wasn't going to fit in that little Toyota Corolla. And she knew she had something up her sleeve, because why was she recording when the man pulled up? Then you can hear the car clicking and clacking, and the man politely tells her, I cannot put you in the back of my car. And he tells her, honestly, my tires are tired. And she's like, well, what does that have to do with me? And it's like, in so many words, it's like, you're too big. I can't put you in here. But you're insisting because you want to manipulate your way and you want to play victim. But you know that you didn't fit in that car. And I hope that when you go to court, they allow him to bring that car to court and have you sit in that car. Because there have been a lot of content creators that say that it was a safety issue. If you can't put a seatbelt on, you would have been in jeopardy of any possible accident that you could have been potentially hurt. So then if you couldn't fit the seatbelt, you were going to try to sue him because you got into an accident and got hurt. You know that you did not fit in that car. You know that if you fly on a plane, you're paying for 2 seats, baby girl. You also know that you're getting about 4 seatbelt extenders. Not 2, about 4. And this extension is going to be like crazy. And you still want to fight with this man about getting a little Toyota-ass Corolla. And if your friend had a Mercedes that was the same size, why didn't your friend pick you up? And also, what? Why were you penny pinching and not getting yourself a Uber XL or Comfort Uber, a Lyft? You definitely got what you wanted, which was free publicity. Because to be brutally honest, I never heard of you until this. Never knew who Dank Demoss was. Now this whole situation with this Lyft happens, and you're all over TikTok. You're all over the social media. Everybody's talking about you. Everybody's like, ooh, this big girl, this big girl, this big girl. And you sit here justified, like you feel accomplished because you cost a man his job without knowing his family dynamics, without knowing what he has to go through. That car sounded terrible and he's still out there grinding, and you want to complain. And the man even said, I'm going to cancel the Uber, the Lyft, I'm going to cancel it. And you're not going to get charged nothing. All you had to do was just go into your app, get you a Uber, a Lyft XL, and went about your business and went to your watch party and went where you were going. But no, you want to be extra. Oh, I can fit in your car. I really hope that when it's time to go to court, they bring that car and they make you try to get in that car. And I pray you don't get stuck, because Toyota Corolla, girl, you're wrong for that. But remember, God sits high, he sees everything low. And one day, you're going to have to explain that to God. Nobody else, you and him. And this man, God gonna hook him up because he knows that man was super polite to you. And despite him being super nice to you, look what you do. He probably would have cursed you out and you would have took it better. You probably would have said, damn, let me just get another Lyft. But because he was nice to you, you said, oh, okay, I got one. I got me a coward. I'm gonna run with it. You gotta do better. Maybe you should consider a few different things, different ways to go about things.